As you grow older, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is peace. Yet many people spend their later years carrying relationships that bring more stress than joy, more disappointment than comfort, and more emotional pain than love. They continue holding on because of history, guilt, or the fear of being misunderstood. But holding on to every relationship is not always an act of kindness. Sometimes it is an act of self-neglect. Buddhist wisdom teaches that letting go does not always mean walking away with anger. True wisdom is learning to release people with compassion, gratitude, and acceptance. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people enter your life to teach you a lesson, while others simply become part of a chapter that has already ended. Clinging to what no longer brings peace only creates unnecessary suffering. Today, we will explore 7 relationships that become important to let go of as you grow older, not with resentment or bitterness, but with a calm heart and a peaceful mind. Because the second half of life should not be spent carrying emotional burdens that no longer belong to you. 1. Let go of relationships built on constant disrespect. As you grow older, one of the first relationships you must learn to release is the relationship built on constant disrespect. Disrespect is not always loud. It is not always shouting, insults, or obvious cruelty. Sometimes disrespect is quiet. It is the person who interrupts you every time you speak. It is the one who makes jokes at your expense and then tells you not to be sensitive. It is the relative who dismisses your feelings because you are older, slower, quieter, or easier to ignore. It is the friend who never takes your boundaries seriously. It is the person who speaks to everyone else with politeness, but speaks to you as though your heart has no weight. Many people tolerate this for years because they do not want conflict. They tell themselves, this is just how they are. But a person's habit does not become harmless simply because it is familiar. If someone repeatedly treats your dignity as optional, that relationship is quietly teaching you to accept less than peace. Buddhist wisdom asks us to look at life clearly, without hatred and without illusion. To see disrespect clearly is not the same as becoming angry. It is simply recognizing what is happening. Many people suffer because they keep giving spiritual excuses for harmful behavior. They say, I must be patient, when they are actually allowing themselves to be mistreated. They say, I must forgive, when they have never protected themselves from repeated injury. Patience is beautiful, but patience without wisdom becomes self-neglect. Forgiveness is noble, but forgiveness does not require you to remain available for the same wound again and again. A wise heart can be compassionate and still say, this is not healthy for me. A peaceful person can walk away from disrespect without hatred. They do not need to punish anyone. They simply stop offering their energy to places where their humanity is not honored. Many older people carry the pain of disrespect because it often comes from those closest to them. A stranger's insult may pass quickly, but disrespect from family can cut deeply. When adult children speak harshly, when relatives ignore your needs, when old friends treat you as unimportant, the heart can feel confused. You may ask, after all I have done, why am I treated this way? This question can become a source of long suffering. But sometimes the answer is not that you did too little. Sometimes the answer is that certain people became too comfortable receiving your kindness without respecting your limits. They became used to your silence. They became used to your forgiveness. They assumed you would always remain, no matter how careless they became. Letting go begins when you stop rewarding repeated disrespect with unlimited access. You do not need to become cruel. You simply need to become clear. Disrespect becomes especially painful when you have spent much of your life serving others. You may have worked hard, raised children, supported friends, cared for relatives, or sacrificed your own comfort so that others could have more ease. When those same people speak to you with impatience or treat your presence like a burden, it can feel like your whole life's effort has been forgotten. But do not allow their lack of gratitude to define your value. A person who cannot respect you is not the measure of your worth. Their behavior reflects the condition of their own mind, not the truth of your life. The Buddha's path reminds us that people act from their own ignorance, wounds, habits, and confusion. Seeing this can help you release bitterness, but understanding their confusion does not mean remaining under their feet. Compassion does not require you to stay where your spirit is repeatedly stepped on. There is a quiet danger in tolerating disrespect for too long. At first, you may feel hurt. Then you may feel angry. But after many years, you may begin to feel numb. You may stop expecting kindness. You may lower your standards so much that even small politeness feels like love. This is how disrespect damages the heart. It teaches you to forget what healthy treatment feels like. It convinces you that peace is asking too much. It makes you grateful for crumbs when you deserve basic dignity. As you grow older, you must not allow your final chapters to be shaped by people who make you feel small. You do not need dramatic confrontations. Sometimes the most powerful change is quiet withdrawal. You answer less, you explain less. You stop sharing your inner world with those who mishandle it. You let your presence become something they no longer receive without respect. Some people will not understand when you begin stepping back from disrespectful relationships. They may accuse you of changing. They may say you are becoming proud, cold, difficult, or distant. But often, people call you difficult when you stop being easy to misuse. They call you changed when you stop tolerating what once benefited them. Do not be disturbed by their labels. If your boundary is calm, truthful, and necessary, let it stand. You are not required to stay in a harmful pattern just to protect someone else from facing their own behavior. The wise person does not create distance to punish others. They create distance to protect inner peace. If someone is upset because you no longer accept disrespect, that is not proof that your boundary is wrong. It may be proof that the boundary was needed. Letting go of disrespectful relationships does not always mean physically removing someone from your life. Sometimes, because of family, work, health, or circumstance, complete distance may not be possible. But emotional letting go is still possible. You can stop expecting tenderness from someone who has repeatedly shown harshness. You can stop going to them for understanding when they have only given judgment. You can stop revealing your wounds to people who use them against you. You can remain polite while no longer making them central to your emotional life. This is an important distinction. You may not always control who exists around you, but you can control how much of your inner world they are allowed to enter. Let them remain outside the temple of your peace. Disrespect often continues because we keep hoping one day the person will finally realize our value. We imagine a moment when they will apologize, soften, and say, "I should have treated you better." Sometimes this happens, but often it does not. Waiting for someone else's awakening can become another form of imprisonment. Your peace should not depend on whether another person becomes mature enough to see what they have done. You can recognize your own worth before they recognize it. You can protect your heart before they regret hurting it. You can stop chasing respect from those who repeatedly show you they are not willing to give it. This is not bitterness, it is awakening. You are no longer waiting outside someone else's closed door while your own life passes by. A relationship built on disrespect often steals more than happiness. It steals mental clarity. You begin replaying conversations, preparing defenses, imagining what you should say next time, wondering why they treated you that way, and asking whether you are wrong for feeling hurt. The person may speak one careless sentence, and your mind may carry it for days. This is how inner peace is lost. Not all suffering comes from the event itself. Much of it comes from the repeated mental return to the event. When you step back from disrespect, you protect your mind from this cycle. You give yourself fewer wounds to process. You allow your attention to return to healthier places. Peace grows not only through meditation, but through choosing environments and relationships that do not constantly injure the mind. It is important to check whether you have confused endurance with strength. Many people feel proud that they can tolerate anything. They say, "I have survived worse," or "I can handle it." But strength is not only the ability to endure pain. Strength is also the wisdom to stop standing where pain is unnecessary. A person who can carry a heavy load is strong, but a person who knows when to put the load down is wise. After many years of life, wisdom matters more than proving endurance. You do not need to show the world how much disrespect you can survive. You have nothing left to prove in that way. A peaceful elder is not someone who won every argument. A peaceful elder is someone who learned which arguments, people, and patterns were no longer worth the disturbance. When you let go of disrespectful relationships, you create space for relationships based on mutual dignity. You begin noticing people who speak gently, listen sincerely, and respect your limits. At first, kindness may feel unfamiliar if you have been surrounded by harshness for too long. Allow yourself to receive it. Healthy relationships do not constantly make you defend your feelings. They do not require you to explain why basic respect matters. They do not leave you feeling smaller after every interaction. They may still include disagreement, because all human relationships do, but disagreement does not become humiliation. Difference does not become contempt. In the presence of respect, the heart relaxes. You remember that connection can feel safe, not draining. You remember that peace with people is possible when dignity is present. The Buddha's teachings often point toward right speech, speech that is truthful, helpful, timely, and kind. A relationship filled with disrespect usually violates this again and again. Words become weapons, silence becomes punishment, humor becomes insult, advice becomes control. If someone continually speaks in ways that disturb your mind, notice this carefully. Words shape the atmosphere of your life. You cannot live peacefully while constantly breathing the smoke of harsh speech. As you grow older, choose conversations that bring clarity rather than confusion. Choose people whose words do not leave poison behind, and when you cannot choose the people, choose your response. You do not need to absorb every word spoken to you. A harsh word can arrive at your ear without entering your heart. Let it fall before it becomes part of you. There is also a spiritual lesson in letting go of disrespect without anger. Anger may arise naturally when you realize how long you tolerated mistreatment. But do not build a new home inside that anger. Use it as a bell of awakening, not as a fire that consumes you. Let it tell you something must change, then allow wisdom to guide the change. If you leave with hatred, you remain tied to the person through resentment. If you leave with clarity, you become free. You can wish them growth. You can hope they learn gentleness. You can pray they become more aware. And still, you can choose not to stand where they continue harming your peace. This is the middle path, neither revenge nor submission, neither hatred nor self-abandonment. As you get older, tell yourself this truth: I do not need to remain close to people who repeatedly disrespect my heart. I can forgive without returning to the same treatment. I can be kind without becoming available for humiliation. I can love people from a distance if closeness destroys my peace. This is not a failure of compassion. It is compassion directed inward as well as outward. Your life is not less spiritual because you protect your dignity. In fact, a clear boundary may be one of the most spiritual acts you ever make, because it prevents resentment, preserves peace, and allows the heart to remain soft instead of bitter. Let go of relationships built on constant disrespect. Let them go without anger if you can, but let them go. Your remaining years deserve gentleness, not repeated wounds disguised as loyalty. 2. Let go of people who only remember you when they need something. As you grow older, you may begin to notice a painful pattern. Some people do not appear when you are lonely, but they appear when they need help. They do not call to ask how your heart is feeling, but they call when they need money, advice, favors, emotional support, or someone to solve a problem. They may disappear for weeks, months, or even years, yet when difficulty enters their life, suddenly they remember your kindness. At first, you may feel useful. You may tell yourself that helping them is the loving thing to do. But over time, a quiet sadness begins to form. You realize that the relationship is not based on mutual care, it is based on convenience. They come not because they value your presence, but because they value what they can receive from you. This kind of connection slowly drains the heart, because it turns your generosity into a resource others visit only when their own needs become urgent. Buddhist wisdom teaches generosity, but it also teaches awareness. Giving is beautiful when it comes from freedom. It becomes painful when it is used to keep people close. Many older people continue helping those who rarely show genuine care because they fear that if they stop giving, the relationship will disappear. This fear reveals an important truth. If the only thing keeping someone near you is what they can take from you, then the connection was already fragile. You should not have to purchase attention with sacrifice. You should not have to earn contact by solving someone else's problems. A relationship that depends entirely on your usefulness is not a peaceful relationship. It is a transaction wearing the clothing of affection. See this clearly, not with hatred, but with honesty. The heart becomes lighter when it stops mistaking being needed for being loved. People who only remember you when they need something may not always be cruel. Some are simply unaware. They have become used to your availability. They assume you will always answer, always help, always understand, always forgive, and always make space. Because you have been kind for so long, they may mistake your kindness for unlimited capacity. They may not ask whether you are tired. They may not notice that you have your own worries, your own health, your own emotions, and your own need for peace. This is why boundaries are necessary. Boundaries are not punishments. They are reminders that your life is not an endless storage room for other people's emergencies. You can help where you sincerely can, but you are not required to abandon yourself every time someone remembers you only because they need something. One reason these relationships hurt so deeply is that they reveal imbalance. You may know their problems, but they know little about your inner life. You may listen to their pain, but they quickly change the subject when you speak of yours. You may celebrate their victories, but they barely notice your efforts. You may show up during their difficult seasons, but when your own difficult season comes, their presence becomes uncertain. This imbalance creates quiet exhaustion. The heart begins asking, "Am I loved, or am I only useful?" That question deserves your attention. Do not silence it too quickly. It is not bitterness. It may be wisdom rising within you. A balanced relationship does not require equal giving every moment, but over time, there should be some sense of mutual care, respect, and consideration. If all the care flows in one direction, the relationship becomes a river that never returns rain. As you get older, your energy becomes more precious. You cannot spend it endlessly on people who treat your kindness like a service they can request at any time. You may have less physical strength than before, less patience for drama, and a deeper need for calm. This is not weakness, it is nature. The body and mind ask for gentler living. If someone only contacts you to pour their burdens into your lap, you have the right to pause before receiving them. Ask yourself, do I truly have the energy for this? Ask, is helping this person an act of compassion, or am I acting from guilt? Ask, will this support their growth, or will it simply continue the same cycle? These questions are not selfish, they are wise. Generosity without awareness can become a rope that ties you to endless exhaustion. There is a difference between helping someone in genuine need and being repeatedly used by someone who refuses responsibility. A person in true need may be grateful, respectful, and willing to do their part. A person who uses you often expects help without humility. They may pressure you, guilt you, or become angry when you cannot give what they want. Pay attention to this. Gratitude reveals sincerity. Entitlement reveals use. If someone becomes kind only when they need something and cold when you set a limit, they are showing you the nature of the connection. Believe what repeated behavior teaches you. You do not need to judge them harshly, but you do need to protect yourself. Compassion does not mean feeding another person's irresponsibility forever. Sometimes the kindest act is to stop making it easy for someone to avoid their own lessons. Many people feel guilty when they step back from being used because they have built an identity around being dependable. They are proud that everyone comes to them. They like being the strong one, the generous one, the person who never refuses. But after many years, this identity can become a prison. You may continue giving not because you truly want to, but because you do not know who you are if you stop. Ask yourself gently, do you want to be loved only for what you provide? Do you want your remaining years to be filled with requests from people who never ask about your peace? You are more than your usefulness. You are not only a helper, provider, listener, problem solver, or rescuer. You are a human being with a heart that also deserves care. Letting go of one-sided relationships allows you to rediscover yourself beyond the role of always being needed. Sometimes the people who use you are family members, and this makes the situation more complicated. Family ties can create deep guilt. You may feel that because someone is your child, sibling, relative, or old friend, you have no right to say no. But even family relationships need respect. Blood does not make entitlement holy. History does not make manipulation acceptable. Love within a family should not mean one person always gives while another always takes. As you grow older, it is wise to help family in ways that do not destroy your own stability. If you can offer advice, offer advice. If you can give limited support, give within limits. But do not allow family obligation to become a doorway through which your peace is continually stolen. A calm boundary within family is often difficult, but it may be necessary for everyone's growth. Letting go of people who only remember you when they need something can begin quietly. You do not need to announce a dramatic ending. You can simply stop responding immediately. You can stop saying yes before thinking. You can stop offering more than was asked. You can say, I am not able to help with that. You can say, I hope you find a good solution. You can say, I need to take care of my own health and peace right now. At first, these words may feel uncomfortable. The other person may not be pleased, but discomfort is not always a sign of wrong action. Sometimes, it is the feeling of an old pattern breaking. Each boundary teaches your heart that your life matters too. Each calm refusal returns a little power to your own hands. When you stop being endlessly available, you may discover which relationships were real and which were built mostly on need. Some people will respect your limits and remain with warmth. Others may disappear when they can no longer receive what they came for. This can hurt, but it also brings clarity. It is better to know the truth than to continue living inside an illusion. If someone leaves because you stopped overgiving, let them go. Their departure reveals that your presence was never what they valued most. Do not chase them. Do not beg them to understand. Simply bow inwardly to the lesson. The relationship has shown you what it was. Now you are free to place your energy where mutual care exists. A peaceful life requires relationships where you are seen, not only used. You deserve people who call sometimes without needing anything. People who ask how you are and truly listen. People who remember your kindness and do not treat it as ordinary. People who respect your no as much as they enjoy your yes. These relationships may be fewer, but they are far more nourishing. As you grow older, Quality matters more than quantity. A few sincere connections are better than many people who only approach you with empty hands. Do not fear a smaller circle. A smaller circle can be a quieter garden, easier to care for, more peaceful to sit within, and less filled with the weeds of resentment. There is also a spiritual teaching in giving without attachment to being needed. Sometimes we continue helping because being needed makes us feel important. When people stop needing us, we may feel forgotten. But the deepest worth does not come from being constantly required by others. It comes from living with wisdom, compassion, and self-respect. Tell yourself, I can be kind without making my identity depend on being useful. This frees your generosity. You can give when the heart is open and the situation is healthy. You can decline when giving would create harm. You no longer use giving to keep yourself from feeling invisible. This is a more mature form of love. It is not desperate to be needed. It is peaceful enough to give wisely and step back when necessary. Do not allow guilt to convince you that your peace is less important than another person's convenience. If someone only remembers you when they need something, then let that pattern teach you. Reduce your expectations. Reduce your availability. Reduce the emotional importance you give to that relationship. You can wish them well, but you do not need to keep serving a connection that does not nourish your heart. Buddhist wisdom does not ask you to close your heart. It asks you to open your eyes. An open heart with closed eyes suffers. An open heart with clear seeing becomes compassionate and wise. Let generosity remain part of your life, but let it be protected by discernment. As you get older, let go of people who only remember you when they need something. Let go not with anger, but with understanding. They may be acting from habit, immaturity, fear, or selfishness. That is their path to examine. Your path is to stop confusing their need with love. Give where giving brings peace. Help where help is healthy. But do not allow your remaining years to become a waiting room for other people's emergencies. Your kindness is precious. Your time is precious. Your energy is precious. Spend them where they are respected, returned in some form, or given freely without inner damage. A peaceful heart knows when to offer the hand and when to gently place the hand back over its own heart. 3. Let go of relationships filled with constant negativity. As you grow older, your mind becomes more sensitive to the atmosphere around it. In younger years, you may have had more energy to tolerate chaos, complaints, gossip, criticism, and emotional storms. You may have believed you could listen endlessly to negative people and remain untouched. But with age comes a deeper awareness of how quickly the mind absorbs what it repeatedly hears. A relationship filled with constant negativity is like sitting near smoke every day. At first, you may think you can ignore it, but slowly it enters your breath, your clothes, your home, and your mood. Negative people may not intend to harm you, but their repeated bitterness can still disturb your peace. They complain about everyone, expect the worst, criticize every joy, and turn simple moments into heavy ones. If you spend too much time in that atmosphere, your own mind may begin to forget how to rest. Negativity is not the same as honest pain. Everyone suffers. Everyone needs to speak about difficulty sometimes. A healthy relationship allows space for sadness, grief, fear, and frustration. But constant negativity is different. It does not seek understanding. It feeds on repetition. It does not want peace. It wants company in unrest. A person trapped in negativity may reject every solution, dismiss every blessing, and return again and again to the same complaints. They may drain your energy not because they suffer, but because they refuse to relate to suffering with awareness. Buddhist wisdom teaches compassion, but compassion does not mean drowning beside someone who refuses to climb toward the shore. You can listen with kindness, but you cannot become the permanent home of another person's bitterness. If their darkness begins to cover your inner light, distance may become necessary. Some relationships feel negative because every conversation turns into criticism. You speak about a hope, and they tell you why it will fail. You mention something good, and they find what is wrong with it. You share a peaceful moment, and they remind you of everything that could go badly. After speaking with them, you feel smaller, heavier, and less alive. Over time, this affects the nervous system. You may begin expecting discouragement before you even speak. You may stop sharing joyful things because you do not want them poisoned. This is not a small matter. Joy needs protection. Hope needs protection. Peaceful thoughts need protection. As you grow older, you do not need to keep offering your tender plans to people who only know how to crush them. Some parts of your heart should be shared only with those who can hold them gently. There are people who carry negativity through gossip. They speak about others constantly, exposing private matters, judging choices, and turning human imperfections into entertainment. At first, gossip may feel like connection. It creates the illusion of closeness because you are sharing secrets and opinions. But gossip leaves a stain on the mind. It trains you to see people through suspicion. It makes you wonder what is said about you when you are absent. A relationship built on gossip is rarely peaceful because the same tongue that cuts others in your presence may cut you elsewhere. Buddhist wisdom values right speech because words shape consciousness. If you spend your days speaking or listening to harmful words, your mind becomes less gentle. As you grow older, choose conversations that leave your heart clean. Not every story needs to be heard. Not every judgment needs your agreement. Silence can be a form of protection. Constant negativity can also come from people who always see themselves as victims but never examine their own actions. They speak endlessly about how others hurt them, betray them, ignore them, or fail them, yet they never ask how their own choices contribute to their suffering. If you try to gently show another perspective, they become offended. If you suggest a solution, they reject it. If you encourage responsibility, they accuse you of not understanding. These relationships are exhausting because they pull you into an endless circle. You become the listener, comforter, and emotional container, but nothing truly changes. Compassion becomes trapped inside repetition. It is wise to recognize when listening no longer helps. Sometimes the most compassionate response is to stop participating in the cycle. Let them keep their story if they choose, but do not make it your daily atmosphere. As you get older, you may also notice how negativity affects your body. After spending time with certain people, you may feel tired, tense, heavy in the chest, or restless in the mind. The body often understands before the mind admits the truth. Pay attention to this. Peace is not only an idea, it is something your whole being feels. Some relationships make the body soften, others make it prepare for danger. If you constantly feel drained after seeing someone, do not dismiss that signal. It may be your inner wisdom asking you to step back. The body is a faithful messenger. It tells you when a place is too loud, when a conversation is too heavy, when a person's energy has become too much. Listen with respect. You do not need to hate someone in order to recognize that their presence is not healthy for you. Negativity often disguises itself as realism. Some people say, "I am just telling the truth," when they are actually spreading fear. They say, "Life is hard," as if that means joy is foolish. They say, "People cannot be trusted," as if suspicion is wisdom. But true wisdom is not the same as bitterness. A wise person sees suffering clearly, but they also sees kindness, beauty, and possibility. They understand impermanence, but they do not use it as a reason to reject every moment of happiness. A negative person often confuses their wounds with truth. Because they have been hurt, they think everyone will hurt them. Because they are disappointed, they think hope is naive. Do not let their wounded worldview become your own. You can be realistic and still remain open-hearted. You can know life is difficult and still welcome peace. Letting go of negative relationships may require releasing the role of emotional rescuer. You may believe it is your responsibility to cheer them up, change their thinking, or absorb their pain. But another person's mindset cannot be healed by your exhaustion. You can offer wisdom, but they must choose to receive it. You can offer kindness, but they must decide whether to grow. If they return every day to the same bitterness, you cannot force them into gratitude. Trying to do so may only make you bitter as well. A lamp can light another lamp only if there is oil and a wick ready to receive flame. If someone refuses every light, do not burn yourself trying to illuminate a closed room. Step back. Keep your own flame alive. This may be the wisest gift you can offer. Some negativity enters through old friendships that have no new life in them. You may have known someone for decades, but every time you meet, the conversation returns to old grievances, old enemies, old complaints, and old disappointments. The relationship may have history, but not growth. It may be familiar, but not nourishing. Many people keep such friendships because they feel loyal to the past. But loyalty to the past should not require sacrificing the peace of the present. Ask yourself whether the relationship still supports the person you are becoming or only keeps you tied to the person you used to be. Some friendships belong to earlier chapters. They helped you once, but now they keep reopening the same emotional weather. It is acceptable to let them fade gently. Not every connection needs a dramatic ending. Some simply need less space in your life. Protecting yourself from negativity does not mean surrounding yourself only with people who agree with you or praise you. Healthy relationships can include honest disagreement, difficult conversations, and moments of sadness. The difference is that healthy relationships move toward understanding. They contain respect. They allow space for hope. They do not leave you feeling poisoned by constant complaint. A peaceful relationship does not require pretending life is perfect. It requires a willingness to hold life with balance. If someone can speak about pain but also recognize goodness, that is not negativity. That is honesty. If someone can disagree without humiliating you, that is not negativity. That is maturity. Learn this distinction so you do not push away sincere people while continuing to tolerate those who repeatedly disturb your mind. As you grow older, your inner world becomes your true home. You may not travel as much as before. Your body may need more rest. Your daily life may become quieter. This makes the quality of your mental atmosphere even more important. If your mind is constantly filled with other people's complaints, fears, and bitterness, where will you find rest? Your later years should not be spent as a container for everyone's negativity. They should be a time for reflection, gratitude, gentleness, and meaningful connection. Choose what you allow into your home, your ears, and your thoughts. You may not be able to control every sound around you, but you can choose not to invite constant negativity to sit beside your heart every day. There may be guilt when stepping back from negative people, especially if they are lonely or struggling, but remember this: you can care about someone without becoming their emotional dumping place. You can wish them healing without listening to the same harmful patterns endlessly. You can send kindness from a distance. You can limit conversations to what you can handle. You can suggest help, prayer, reflection, or professional support where appropriate, but you cannot become the only wall holding up another person's collapsing inner life. If you try, both of you may fall. A compassionate boundary protects not only you, it may also prevent the relationship from turning into resentment. Distance can preserve a softer heart where unlimited exposure would create bitterness. The practice of letting go of negativity begins with awareness. Notice how you feel before, during, and after each relationship. Notice whether your mind becomes more peaceful or more disturbed. Notice whether the conversation leaves you with clarity or confusion. Notice whether you feel encouraged to live wisely or pulled into complaint. These observations are not judgments. They are information. A wise person does not need to condemn the storm. They simply chooses whether to stand outside in it. If a relationship constantly rains negativity upon your spirit, it is okay to seek shelter. This shelter may be silence, distance, fewer visits, shorter calls, or a change in what you discuss. Small adjustments can protect great peace. Let go of relationships filled with constant negativity. Let them go with compassion, because negative people are often suffering deeply. But do not confuse compassion with permanent exposure. You are allowed to protect the garden of your mind. You are allowed to choose conversations that nourish wisdom. You are allowed to step away from gossip, complaint, criticism, and hopelessness. The world already contains enough suffering. Do not make your heart a gathering place for unnecessary darkness. As you grow older, let your relationships become quieter, cleaner, and more peaceful. Spend your time with people who can speak truth without poisoning joy, who can acknowledge pain without worshipping it, and who can sit with you in a way that makes your soul feel lighter rather than tired. 4. Let go of those who never appreciate your kindness. As you grow older, you may begin to see that one of the deepest pains in life is not giving, but giving to those who never truly appreciate it. You may have offered time, care, money, advice, forgiveness, loyalty, and emotional support to people who accepted everything as though it was ordinary. They did not see the effort behind your kindness. They did not notice what it cost you. They did not understand the tiredness you carried while still showing up for them. They received your help, then quickly forgot it. They enjoyed your presence, then treated it as something guaranteed. This kind of relationship quietly wounds the heart because it makes generosity feel invisible. You do not give in order to be worshipped, but every human heart needs some form of recognition. When kindness is repeatedly taken for granted, even the most loving person can begin to feel empty. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to give without attachment, but this teaching is often misunderstood. Giving without attachment does not mean giving without wisdom. It does not mean allowing others to take endlessly while your own heart becomes depleted. It means offering kindness from a clean place, without demanding control over the result. But if a relationship repeatedly turns your generosity into entitlement, awareness is needed. You must ask whether your giving is still compassionate, or whether it has become a habit rooted in guilt, fear, or the desire to be valued. True generosity should not destroy the giver. A candle can light another flame, but if it is never protected, it will eventually burn out. Your kindness is sacred. It should be offered wisely, not scattered endlessly where it is never respected. People who never appreciate your kindness may not always insult you directly. Sometimes their lack of appreciation appears through assumption. They assume you will help. They assume you will forgive. They assume you will adjust your schedule, sacrifice your comfort, listen to their problems, and continue being available no matter how little they give in return. The moment you do not meet their expectation, they may become disappointed or even angry. This reveals that they have stopped seeing your kindness as a gift and started seeing it as their right. When a gift is treated like an obligation, resentment begins to grow. As you get older, you must be careful with relationships where gratitude has disappeared. Without gratitude, love becomes heavy. Without appreciation, generosity becomes a burden. A peaceful heart needs relationships where kindness is noticed, not consumed without thought. Many older people have given so much to family that they struggle to admit when they feel unappreciated. They tell themselves, "I should not expect anything." They feel guilty for wanting acknowledgement. But wanting appreciation does not make you selfish. It makes you human. A simple thank you, a gentle word, a moment of recognition, or a sincere gesture can nourish the heart. Appreciation is not payment, it is awareness. It says, "I see what you gave." When people never offer this awareness, they create emotional distance. The giver begins to feel unseen. Over time, love may still exist, but the warmth becomes covered by hurt. If you feel this way, do not shame yourself. Your heart is not wrong for wanting to be seen. The key is not to demand appreciation from those who refuse to give it, but to stop over-giving where appreciation is absent. There is an important difference between kindness and self-erasure. Kindness says, "I will help if I can." Self-erasure says, "I must help even if it harms me." Kindness comes from love. Self-erasure comes from fear. Many people who are never appreciated keep giving because they fear rejection if they stop. They believe that their usefulness is the reason others keep them close. This belief can become especially strong with age, when people fear becoming forgotten or less needed. But your value is not measured by how much others can take from you. You are worthy even when you rest. You are worthy even when you say no. You are worthy even when you have nothing to offer except your presence. Let this truth enter deeply. The people who only value you when you are useful are not seeing you fully. Do not let their limited vision become your identity. When kindness is unappreciated for a long time, the heart may become bitter. You may begin thinking, "Why should I help anyone?" or "People only use good people." This bitterness is understandable, but do not let it become your final lesson. The answer is not to stop being kind. The answer is to become wiser with your kindness. Do not allow the behavior of ungrateful people to close your heart toward those who would cherish your goodness. There are people in this world who receive kindness with humility. There are people who remember. There are people who are moved by small acts of care. Let your kindness remain alive, but let discernment become its companion. A river that flows everywhere without banks becomes a flood. A river with banks can nourish the land. Boundaries give kindness direction. Sometimes people fail to appreciate your kindness because they have never had to live without it. They became accustomed to your support, so they stopped seeing its value. Only when you step back do they begin to notice the space your kindness once filled. This does not mean you should withdraw to punish them. But stepping back can reveal truth. It can show whether the relationship contains genuine care or only expectation. If someone becomes more respectful when they realize your kindness is not unlimited, the relationship may grow healthier. If they become angry and accuse you for having limits, they reveal their entitlement. Either way, clarity is gained. You cannot build peace on confusion. Sometimes reducing your giving is the only way to see whether appreciation exists beneath the habit of taking. As you grow older, you may need to forgive yourself for all the times you gave too much to people who did not value it. Perhaps you ignored your own needs. Perhaps you stayed awake worrying about someone who never worried about you. Perhaps you offered repeated chances to people who did not change. It is easy to look back and feel foolish. But do not judge your past kindness harshly. Your giving came from a heart that wanted to love, support, and be useful. There is dignity in that. The lesson is not that you were wrong to be kind. The lesson is that kindness must now be guided by wisdom. Thank your younger self for caring. Then teach your present self to care with clearer eyes. This is how pain becomes maturity instead of bitterness. A helpful practice is to notice where your kindness brings peace and where it brings heaviness. When you help someone and feel calm afterward, the giving may be healthy. When you help and feel used, resentful, anxious, or empty, examine the pattern carefully. Your feelings are not always perfect guides, but they can provide important signals. A heart that is constantly tired after giving may be telling you that the relationship has become unbalanced. Do not ignore this inner information. Sit quietly with it. Ask, am I giving freely or am I giving to avoid guilt? Ask, is this person grateful or do they simply expect more? Ask, does this relationship grow through my kindness or does it only consume it? Honest questions can save years of unnecessary suffering. Letting go of unappreciative people does not always mean removing all kindness. Sometimes it means changing the form of kindness. Instead of giving money, you offer advice. Instead of solving the problem, You encourage responsibility. Instead of being available at all hours, you choose specific times. Instead of carrying the emotional weight, you listen briefly and then release it. This is still kindness, but it is kindness with wisdom. The other person may not like the change because they preferred your old pattern. But growth is not always comfortable. If a relationship is meant to become healthier, it must adapt to respect your limits. If it cannot adapt, then distance may be the healthier path. You deserve relationships where kindness flows both ways. This does not mean equal exchange in every moment. Sometimes one person needs more support during a hard season, but over the long journey, there should be mutual respect, there should be appreciation, there should be care for your well-being too. If you are always the giver, always the listener, always the forgiver, always the one who adjusts, then something has become imbalanced. Peaceful relationships do not make one person disappear so the other can feel comfortable. They allow both hearts to matter. As you grow older, seek relationships where your kindness is met with gratitude, not entitlement. Seek people who notice the small things. Seek people who do not make you feel foolish for caring. Do not confuse appreciation with praise. Some people may not use many words, yet they show appreciation through action. They help when they can. They remember your needs. They respect your time. They treat your kindness carefully. Others may speak sweet words, but continue taking without thought. Look at behavior, not only speech. Gratitude is visible in how a person handles what you give. Do they protect it? Do they honor it? Do they become more considerate? Or do they simply return with larger demands? Clear seeing matters. A person's relationship with your kindness reveals much about their relationship with your heart. Let go of those who never appreciate your kindness. Let go not by becoming hard, but by becoming wise. Do not let ungrateful people teach you to become unkind. Let them teach you to become discerning. Continue to give, but give where the heart remains peaceful. Continue to love, but love without abandoning yourself. Continue to help, but help in ways that do not destroy your own well-being. As you get older, your kindness should become more precious, not more exhausted. Offer it like a sacred lamp. Let it shine where it brings warmth, healing, and mutual respect. But do not place it endlessly in hands that only know how to take until the light grows dim. 5. Let go of relationships that steal your peace. As you get older, you begin to understand that peace is not a small thing. It is not merely the absence of noise. It is a deep inner space where the body can rest, the mind can breathe, and the heart can feel safe. Many people spend years chasing success, money, approval, and companionship, only to discover later that none of these things matter much if peace is missing. A relationship that steals your peace may not always look harmful from the outside. Others may think the connection is normal. They may say, "But you have known each other for years," or "That is just how family is," or "You should not be so sensitive." But only you know what happens inside you after certain conversations. Only you know how many nights you stayed awake replaying words. Only you know how many times your heart tightened before answering a call. If a relationship repeatedly disturbs your inner world, that disturbance deserves to be taken seriously. Some relationships steal peace through unpredictability. One day the person is kind, warm, and affectionate. The next day they are cold, critical, distant, or angry. You never know which version of them will appear. This keeps your nervous system in a state of alertness. You begin choosing your words carefully, watching their mood, trying to prevent conflict, and adjusting yourself to keep things calm. This is not peace. This is emotional survival. A healthy relationship does not require you to constantly monitor another person's weather. It may have difficult moments, but it does not make you feel unsafe in your own heart. As you grow older, you do not need relationships where every interaction feels like walking across thin ice. You deserve steadiness. You deserve respect. You deserve connections where calmness is not rare. Some relationships steal peace through confusion. They make you doubt what you feel, what you remember, and what you know to be true. A person may hurt you, then say you are overreacting. They may deny words they clearly spoke. They may twist the story until you become the one apologizing for being wounded. Over time, this can make the mind feel unstable. You begin asking, "Am I the problem?" even when your heart knows something is wrong. Buddhist wisdom teaches clear seeing, and clear seeing requires trusting the quiet knowledge within you. If a relationship repeatedly makes you feel confused, ashamed, and emotionally tangled, step back. Peace cannot grow in a place where truth is constantly distorted. You do not need to argue with someone who benefits from keeping you uncertain. Sometimes clarity returns only when distance is created. A relationship can steal peace even without open conflict. It may do so through constant emotional demand. The person may need reassurance again and again, attention again and again, help again and again, and you may feel responsible for keeping them stable. If they are sad, you feel guilty. If they are angry, you feel afraid. If they are disappointed, you feel obligated to repair it. This kind of relationship quietly turns your life into emotional labor. Compassion is beautiful, but no human being can become the permanent caretaker of another person's moods. You can love someone without becoming responsible for every feeling that moves through them. As you grow older, you must release relationships where your peace is held hostage by another person's emotional instability. You can care, but you cannot carry their whole inner world. Some relationships steal peace through repeated cycles. There is hurt, then apology, then temporary calm, then the same hurt again. You may have gone through this cycle many times. Each time, you hope it will be different. Each time, you believe the promise. Each time, you open your heart again. But eventually, wisdom asks you to look at the pattern, not only the apology. Words can be sincere in the moment and still not be followed by transformation. A relationship becomes peaceful not through repeated regret, but through changed behavior. If the same wound keeps returning, you must ask whether you are practicing forgiveness or participating in your own suffering. Letting go of a cycle is difficult because hope is powerful, but hope without evidence can keep you tied to pain for years. There are relationships that steal peace because they keep you attached to an older version of yourself. Perhaps the person knew you during a time when you were more insecure, more available, more reactive, or less aware of your boundaries. When you begin changing, they may pull you back into old patterns. They may mock your growth, dismiss your peace, or remind you of past mistakes whenever you try to become different. These relationships can feel familiar, but familiarity is not always healthy. Growth requires space. If someone is committed to seeing you only as who you were, they may not be able to walk with who you are becoming. As you age, you have the right to evolve. You have the right to become calmer, wiser, and more selective. Do not remain tied to people who only feel comfortable when you stay small. Sometimes the relationship that steals your peace is not dramatic at all. It is simply one where you feel unseen. You speak, but they do not listen. You are present, but they do not notice. You share your heart, but they move quickly past it. You leave feeling lonely, even though you were not physically alone. This kind of relationship can be especially painful because there may be no obvious cruelty to point to. Yet the absence of emotional presence still hurts. Human beings need to feel seen in meaningful connections. If a relationship repeatedly leaves you feeling invisible, ask whether it truly nourishes your heart. You may choose to maintain polite contact, but you do not need to keep expecting depth where there is only surface. Peace comes when expectations match reality. As you grow older, you may need to let go of relationships that constantly pull you into drama. Some people live as though every day must contain conflict. They fight with relatives, complain about neighbors, create misunderstandings, and invite you to take sides. If you become involved, your mind becomes restless. You think about their problems, defend their position, worry about the outcome, and lose your own calm. But not every conflict around you belongs to you. You do not need to be the judge, messenger, rescuer, or defender in every emotional battle. A wise elder learns when to step back. You can say, "I hope this resolves peacefully," without entering the storm. Drama often feeds on participation. When you stop participating, your peace begins to return. A relationship steals peace when it requires constant self-betrayal. If you must pretend to agree, pretend to be happy, pretend not to be hurt, pretend not to need rest, or pretend not to have boundaries, the relationship is costing more than it should. Self-betrayal may keep the connection alive, but it slowly weakens your relationship with yourself. You may avoid conflict with others while creating conflict within. This inner conflict can become unbearable with age because the soul begins longing for simplicity and truth. You no longer have the same patience for pretending. Listen to that longing. It is not bitterness, it is wisdom. A peaceful life requires alignment between what you feel, what you value, and how you live. Relationships that demand constant pretending must be loosened. Letting go of peace-stealing relationships does not always happen quickly. You may need time to accept the truth. You may move through grief, guilt, hope, fear, and sadness. This is natural. A relationship can be unhealthy and still be difficult to release. You may miss good memories. You may remember times when the person was kind. You may wonder if you are being unfair. Let all of this arise, but do not let it blind you to the repeated effect the relationship has on your mind. A few beautiful memories cannot erase years of emotional disturbance. Honor what was good, but also honor what is true now. The present reality matters. Your peace matters. The person may have been important in one chapter, but that does not mean they must remain central in every chapter. There is a simple question that can guide you. Does this relationship bring me closer to peace or farther from it? Do not answer quickly. Sit with it. Notice your body. Notice your mind. Notice the pattern over time. Some relationships challenge us in healthy ways, helping us grow, become more honest, or practice patience. Others simply disturb us again and again without leading to wisdom or mutual care. Learn the difference. A relationship that sometimes challenges your ego may still be good for you. A relationship that repeatedly damages your dignity, clarity, and nervous system is something else. Buddhist wisdom is not about avoiding all discomfort. It is about ending unnecessary suffering. If a relationship is mostly suffering with very little wisdom, respect, or love, letting go may be the compassionate path. When you release a relationship that steals your peace, you may feel emptiness at first. The mind may be used to the drama, the worry, the emotional intensity, or the role you played. Quiet may feel strange. Do not mistake this strangeness for a wrong decision. Peace can feel unfamiliar when chaos has been normal for many years. Give yourself time to adjust. Fill the space with gentle routines, healthy conversations, meaningful silence, and care for your body. Slowly, the nervous system learns that it no longer needs to remain on alert. You may begin sleeping better, breathing more easily, thinking more clearly, and feeling more present in your own life. This is the fruit of letting go. At first, it feels like loss. Later, it reveals itself as freedom. As you grow older, protect peace, not because you hate people, but because you understand the value of your remaining time. You do not need every relationship to be close. You do not need every person to understand your choice. You do not need to explain your peace to those who benefit from disturbing it. Let go of relationships that steal your peace. Release them with as much kindness as you can, but release them. Let your home become quieter. Let your mind become clearer. Let your heart become less available for confusion, drama, and emotional storms. The peaceful life is not built by keeping everyone close. It is built by knowing who can enter your inner world and who must remain lovingly outside its gates. 6. Let go of the need to fix everyone around you. As you get older, one of the most exhausting relationships you must let go of is not always a relationship with one person. It is your relationship with the role of being the fixer. For many years, you may have been the one people turned to for answers, support, money, advice, emotional comfort, or rescue. You may have carried family problems, helped friends through crises, tried to guide adult children, comforted relatives, and stepped in whenever someone was struggling. At first, this may have felt meaningful. Helping others can bring deep purpose. But over time, the need to fix everyone can become a heavy burden. You begin feeling responsible for problems you did not create and cannot solve. You lose sleep over choices that are not yours to make. You carry the weight of other people's lives as though their peace depends entirely on you. This is not compassion anymore. It is attachment disguised as responsibility. Buddhist wisdom teaches compassion, but compassion must be joined with wisdom. Compassion without wisdom becomes over-involvement. Wisdom without compassion becomes coldness. The middle path is to care deeply without trying to control the outcome of every person's life. You can offer guidance, but you cannot force understanding. You can offer support, but you cannot live someone else's karma. You can offer love, but you cannot do another person's inner work for them. Every human being must eventually meet the consequences of their own choices. When you constantly rescue people from those consequences, you may delay the very lesson life is trying to teach them. This is difficult to accept, especially when you love them. But love does not always mean removing every obstacle. Sometimes love means standing nearby with compassion while allowing someone to learn strength through their own path. The need to fix others often comes from fear. You may fear that if you do not intervene, something bad will happen. You may fear that your child will suffer, your friend will fail, your relative will make a mistake, or someone you love will become angry with you for not helping enough. But fear is not always wisdom. Fear often exaggerates your responsibility. It tells you that you must control what you cannot control. It tells you that another person's pain is proof of your failure. This is a painful illusion. You are not the owner of everyone's destiny. You are not the guardian of every adult's choices. You are not responsible for preventing all suffering in the lives of those around you. You can love them, pray for them, advise them, and support them within healthy limits. But you cannot become life itself for them. Many older parents struggle deeply with the need to fix their adult children. They see mistakes more clearly because they have lived longer. They know where certain paths may lead. They want to protect their children from regret, pain, financial trouble, unhealthy relationships, and emotional wounds. This desire comes from love. But adult children do not always receive advice as love. Sometimes they experience it as control. They may resist, hide things, or become distant. The parent then feels hurt, unappreciated, and powerless. The relationship becomes tense because love has turned into constant correction. As you grow older, it is wise to ask, have I become a guide, or have I become a guard? A guide points toward wisdom and allows the traveler to walk. A guard tries to block every wrong turn. Your adult children need your blessing more than your constant fear. Offer wisdom when it is welcome, then release the outcome with as much trust as you can. The fixer often believes that rest is selfish. They feel guilty when they sit quietly while someone else is struggling. They believe that if a problem exists, they must be doing something about it. But this belief can destroy the body and mind. There will always be someone with a problem. There will always be a need somewhere. If you wait until everyone around you is stable before allowing yourself peace, you may never rest. Tell yourself gently, I can care without carrying everything. This truth may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary. Rest is not abandonment. Rest is what allows compassion to remain clean. A tired helper eventually becomes resentful. A resentful helper may continue giving, but the giving becomes heavy. Protecting your own peace allows your support to remain sincere rather than forced. Some people become dependent on your fixing. They stop thinking carefully because they assume you will solve things. They repeat the same mistakes because they know you will soften the consequences. They bring every emotional crisis to you because they have never learned how to calm themselves. This may make you feel needed, but it does not always help them grow. When you constantly fix, you may unintentionally teach others that they do not need to develop responsibility. Letting go of the fixer role can therefore be an act of respect. It says, "I believe you are capable of learning." It says, "I will not take away every lesson from you." It says, "I can support you without replacing your own strength." This kind of love may feel less dramatic, but it is often healthier. There is also an ego hidden inside the desire to fix. This is difficult to admit, but important. Sometimes we help because we care, and sometimes we help because being needed gives us identity. We feel important when others depend on us. We feel valuable when we are the one with answers. We feel afraid that if people no longer need us, we will become invisible. Buddhist wisdom invites honest self-observation. Ask yourself, do I want to help this person, or do I need to feel necessary? There is no shame in discovering this. Many people carry this pattern, but seeing it clearly allows freedom. Your worth does not disappear when you stop rescuing everyone. You are valuable even in stillness. You are loved even when you are not solving a problem. You exist not only to be useful, but to awaken, rest, love, and live peacefully. The need to fix everyone can also prevent true listening. When someone shares pain, you may immediately search for solutions. You may interrupt with advice, explain what they should do, or become frustrated when they do not follow your guidance. But sometimes people do not need fixing. They need presence. They need someone to hear them without turning their pain into a project. As you grow older, you can practice a softer form of support. Instead of asking, "How can I solve this?" ask, "How can I be present without taking over?" This changes the energy of the relationship. People feel respected rather than managed. You feel less burdened because you are no longer trying to control every outcome. Presence can be deeply healing. It allows another person to feel less alone while still remaining responsible for their own path. Letting go of fixing does not mean you stop helping. It means your help becomes more mindful. You learn to ask before advising. You learn to offer support without forcing it. You learn to give only what you can give without resentment. You learn to step back when someone repeatedly refuses responsibility. You learn to let silence do some of the work. This is mature compassion. It is not cold. It is clear. It understands that every person must develop their own wisdom. If you constantly stand between people and their lessons, you may keep them dependent and keep yourself exhausted. A wise helper knows when to step forward and when to step back. Both can be acts of love. The fixer role is especially dangerous because it makes your peace dependent on other people's improvement. If they change, you feel relief. If they do not, you feel failure. This gives your emotional life to conditions beyond your control. You may spend your remaining years waiting for someone else to become responsible, grateful, sober, calm, kind, or wise before you allow yourself to be peaceful. But what if they never change? Will you give the rest of your life to their unfinished lesson? This is a serious question. Your peace cannot wait for everyone around you to heal. You can hope for their growth, but you must not postpone your own peace until it happens. The path asks you to release outcomes that do not belong to you. As you grow older, it becomes important to simplify your responsibilities. Write inwardly, if not on paper, what truly belongs to you. Your words belong to you. Your actions belong to you. Your boundaries belong to you. Your kindness belongs to you. Your response belongs to you. Other people's choices belong to them. Other people's reactions belong to them. Other people's willingness to learn belongs to them. When you separate these clearly, the heart becomes lighter. You stop carrying what was never yours. You may still feel concern, because love does not disappear. But concern becomes less tangled with control. You can say, I care about this person, but I will not lose myself trying to live their life. This is a powerful turning point. Some people may become upset when you stop fixing everything. They may say you have changed, become selfish, or stopped caring. But often, they are reacting to the loss of your old availability. Let them feel what they feel. You do not need to defend your growth endlessly. If your new boundary is calm and compassionate, allow it to stand. People who truly wish to grow may eventually respect your limits. People who only wanted rescue may seek another rescuer. Either way, you become freer. Do not mistake their disappointment for your wrongdoing. When a person has been carried for too long, being asked to walk may feel like abandonment. But sometimes, walking is exactly what their soul needs to learn. Letting go of the need to fix everyone brings deep peace. You begin sleeping without rehearsing everyone else's problems. You begin listening without feeling responsible for every solution. You begin loving people as they are, while still allowing them the dignity of their own journey. You become less controlling, less anxious, and less resentful. Your relationships become lighter because you are no longer entering them as a repairman of souls. You enter as a human being among human beings, each walking a path of learning. This humility softens the heart. It reminds you that you too are still learning. You too have needed time. You too have made mistakes. If life gave you space to grow through experience, perhaps others also need that space. As you get older, let go of the need to fix everyone around you. Offer wisdom, but do not force it. Offer help, but do not sacrifice your peace. Offer love, but do not turn love into control. You are not abandoning people by allowing them to face their own lessons. You are honoring the truth that every life has its own path. The world does not rest entirely on your shoulders. Your family's happiness, your friends' choices, and your relatives' growth are not yours to manage completely. Release the burden. Breathe. Let your remaining years be filled not with endless rescue missions, but with calm presence, wise support, healthy boundaries, and the peaceful understanding that you can love people deeply without carrying what only they can learn for themselves. 7. Let go with gratitude, not anger. As you grow older, one of the highest forms of wisdom is learning to let go with gratitude, not anger. Many people believe that if a relationship ends, it must end with bitterness. They think they must blame, condemn, or harden their heart in order to move on. But anger is not the only doorway out of a relationship. Sometimes the most peaceful departure is quiet. Sometimes you can bow inwardly to what the relationship taught you, accept that its time has passed, and continue your path without carrying hatred. This does not mean the relationship was perfect. It does not mean the person did not hurt you. It means you refuse to let the ending poison the years that remain. Gratitude allows you to release the relationship without turning it into a permanent wound. It says, "There was something here once, and now there is something to learn as I let it go." Every relationship, even the painful ones, can teach something if you look with awareness. Some teach you what love feels like. Some teach you what love is not. Some teach you patience. Some teach you boundaries. Some teach you self-respect. Some teach you that your peace should never be given away cheaply. If you only look at the hurt, you may miss the lesson. If you only look at the lesson, you may deny the hurt. Wisdom holds both. It says, "This hurt me, and it also taught me." This balanced seeing prevents bitterness from becoming your teacher. Pain may awaken you, but bitterness can imprison you. Gratitude does not erase pain. It transforms your relationship with it. It allows the past to become a teacher rather than a chain. Letting go with gratitude is easier when you remember that not every person is meant to stay forever. Life moves in chapters. Some people walk with you through childhood, some through struggle, some through growth, some through joy, and some only long enough to reveal something important about your own heart. The mind suffers when it demands permanence from every connection. But existence is change. Seasons change. Bodies change. Feelings change. Circumstances change. People change. A relationship ending does not always mean it failed. Sometimes it completed the lesson it came to give. Sometimes two paths simply moved in different directions. When you understand this, you stop treating every ending as a personal defeat. You can honor the chapter without forcing it to become the whole book. Gratitude helps you release the need to make someone the villain. Of course, some people act harmfully, and their behavior must be seen clearly. But if you keep turning them into a monster in your mind, you may remain emotionally tied to them through anger. You may replay what they did, explain their faults to yourself, and keep feeding the story of injury. This can feel satisfying for a short time, but it keeps the person alive inside your inner world. Letting go with gratitude does not require you to deny their faults. It simply means you stop making your life revolve around them. You can say, "They were limited, they hurt me, they were not able to meet me with wisdom, and now I release the need to keep holding them in my mind." This is freedom. The heart becomes lighter when it no longer needs an enemy in order to move forward. Sometimes gratitude may feel impossible at first. If the wound is fresh, do not force yourself to feel peaceful too quickly. Buddhist wisdom does not ask you to pretend. If you are hurt, acknowledge the hurt. If you are grieving, allow the grief. If anger arises, observe it without shame, but do not build a permanent home there. Let your emotions move like weather. The storm may come, but it does not have to become the climate of your entire life. In time, when the pain softens, you may be able to see what the relationship taught you. Perhaps it taught you to trust your intuition. Perhaps it taught you to stop ignoring red flags. Perhaps it taught you that being alone is better than being disrespected. This kind of gratitude is not gratitude for the pain itself, but gratitude for the wisdom that eventually grew from it. Letting go with gratitude also means releasing the dream of what you wanted the relationship to become. Often, we do not only grieve the person, we grieve the hope. We grieve the family we wished we had, the friendship we imagined, the apology we expected, the closeness we hoped would return. This dream can be harder to release than the actual relationship. You may keep holding on because you are attached to the possibility that one day it will finally become what your heart desired. But peace begins when you accept what is, not only what could have been. Gratitude says, "I thank this hope for showing me what my heart values, and now I release the demand that it must be fulfilled through this person." This is a tender form of letting go. It honors your longing without allowing longing to become suffering without end. There are relationships that were once beautiful, but later became painful. This can be confusing. You may ask, how can I let go when there were good times? The answer is to stop using good memories as chains. A relationship can have been meaningful in the past and unhealthy in the present. Both can be true. Gratitude allows you to preserve the beauty without denying the reality. You can remember laughter, support, shared experiences, and love, while still recognizing that the connection no longer brings peace. You do not need to destroy the memory in order to justify the distance. You can say, "I am grateful for what was good, and I accept that what is now requires release." This maturity prevents the heart from becoming divided between nostalgia and wisdom. Letting go with anger often keeps the wound open because anger wants to keep proving its case. It gathers evidence, repeats arguments, and waits for validation. Gratitude does something different. It closes the circle. It says, I have learned what I needed to learn. I no longer need to keep returning to the same fire. This does not mean you never think of the person again. It means the memory loses its authority over your peace. When it appears, you do not have to follow it into resentment. You can bow to the lesson and return to the present. This is a practice. It may take time, but each return weakens the chain. Eventually, the person becomes part of your history without remaining the ruler of your emotional life. As you grow older, letting go with gratitude becomes important because time is too precious for hatred. Hatred consumes energy. It keeps the face tense, the mind restless, the body unsettled. It may feel powerful, but it often makes the one who carries it suffer most. You may believe hatred protects you, but clear boundaries protect you better. You may believe resentment honors your pain, but healing honors your pain better. You may believe anger keeps the memory alive, but wisdom can keep the lesson alive without keeping the wound open. Ask yourself, do I want to spend my remaining years proving how much I was hurt, or do I want to live with a lighter heart? This question is not easy, but it is necessary. Peace requires choosing what deserves your energy now. There is a beautiful strength in wishing someone well from a distance. This does not mean you want them close again. It does not mean you trust them. It does not mean you approve of what happened. It simply means you no longer want your heart tied to their suffering or downfall. You can say inwardly, "May you learn, may you heal, may you become wiser, and may I be free." This kind of blessing releases both sides. It allows you to stop carrying the relationship as a battlefield. It turns the ending into a prayer instead of a prison. Some people may not deserve access to you, but every being is still trapped in their own ignorance until they awaken. Seeing this can soften hatred without weakening boundaries. Gratitude also helps you forgive yourself for staying too long. Many people feel angry not only at the other person, but at themselves. They think, why did I tolerate this? Why did I ignore the signs? Why did I give so much? Be gentle with yourself. You stayed because you hoped. You stayed because you cared. You stayed because you were afraid. You stayed because you did not yet know how to leave. Now you know more. Let that knowledge become wisdom, not self-punishment. You do not need to carry shame for having a human heart. Thank the version of yourself that tried. Thank the version that endured. Then support the version that is finally ready to choose peace. Self-forgiveness is part of letting go with gratitude. When you let go with gratitude, you make space for new forms of peace to enter. The space left by a relationship may feel empty at first. You may miss the routine, the messages, the familiar presence, even if it was painful. This is natural. Do not rush to fill the space with another unhealthy connection. Let the emptiness become sacred. Use it to return to yourself. Walk quietly. Sit in silence. Rebuild routines. Spend time with people who feel gentle. Learn what your heart sounds like without the noise of that relationship. In time, the space will not feel like loss. It will feel like room. Room to breathe. Room to grow. Room to live without constant emotional weight. Gratitude helps you see this space not as punishment, but as possibility. Letting go with gratitude does not require a final conversation. Sometimes closure comes through words, but sometimes words only reopen wounds. You may never receive the apology you hoped for. You may never get the explanation. You may never be understood. Still, you can create closure within yourself. Closure can be a quiet decision. I release this from the center of my life. Closure can be returning their belongings, deleting old messages, stopping the mental argument, or simply choosing not to feed the memory today. Closure is not always something another person gives you. Sometimes it is something your own wisdom builds, step by step, breath by breath. The deepest gratitude is not always for the person, but for your own awakening. You may be grateful that you finally saw the pattern, grateful that you found strength to step back, grateful that your peace became important to you, grateful that you learned the difference between love and attachment, grateful that life did not allow you to remain asleep forever. This gratitude is powerful because it returns the focus to your growth. The relationship may have ended, but your wisdom expanded. The connection may have hurt, but your self-respect became clearer. The chapter may have closed, but you are still here, more aware than before. This is not a small thing. As you get older, let go with gratitude, not anger. Thank what was good. Learn from what was painful. Release what no longer belongs. Do not carry people in your heart as enemies. Do not turn endings into lifelong bitterness. Let your distance be clean. Let your boundaries be calm. Let your memories become teachers rather than chains. You can walk away with a peaceful mind, wishing no harm, needing no revenge, and carrying only the wisdom that life gave you. This is true freedom. Not the freedom of never being hurt, but the freedom of refusing to let hurt become the master of your remaining years. Let go gently, let go wisely, let go with gratitude, and continue your journey with a lighter heart. As you grow older, your time becomes more valuable, your energy becomes more precious, and your peace becomes something worth protecting above all else. You do not have to carry every relationship simply because it has existed for many years. Some relationships naturally come to an end, and accepting that is not failure, it is wisdom. Letting go without anger is one of the highest forms of inner strength. It means you no longer allow resentment to control your heart. Instead, you choose understanding over bitterness, acceptance over resistance, and peace over endless emotional struggle. You wish people well, but you also give yourself permission to walk a different path. So do not fear letting go of relationships that no longer help you grow. Release them with compassion, protect your inner peace, and continue your journey with a lighter heart. Because as you grow older, the quality of your life is not measured by how many people you keep. It is measured by how peacefully you live.